We're going to go ahead and complete the variation notes here, and we're going to start with the vocab constant of variation. And this is a constant, which is a number, and it's usually represented by the letter K. And this is the number that relates to or more variables. All right, let's look at some of the vocab around variation. We have direct variation, and so we're going to go from the sentence to the equation format. So we're going to say y varies directly as x, and we're going to translate that into a sentence. So y varies gets you the equals and the k, and then directly gets you multiplication x. If we're looking at this equation, y equals kx, that would graph, notice that mx plus b, linear, that's a b value of 0, so it's a line that goes through the origin. Okay, if I were to rearrange this equation and divide x to the other side, we would get y over x equals k. The quotient of those variables is the constant of variation. Okay, so let's look at the next sentence. Okay, the word inverse. A rational function defined by an equation where, okay, y varies inversely as x. Now these vocab words are actually telling you where to place the parts of the equation. Y varies inversely as x. Inversely has you divide by x. Okay, notice that this is y equals a over x. It's the rational function, parent function, where a is the stretch value, which represents this k value, which means this is the graph that has a vertical and horizontal asymptote. And it looks like this. If I were to rearrange this equation and multiply both sides by x, you end up with the product of those variables is the constant of variation. Okay, so here are the two things that you really need to know. Y varies directly as x. Which vocab words give you which parts of the equation? So now let's go ahead and let's add multiple letters to this. We have combined variation and joint variation, which means that we're going to describe two or more quantities. Z varies jointly with x and y. So the word jointly goes with directly. And so let's translate. Z equals k times x times z, or times y. Let's highlight to make sure we know where these pieces are coming from. Varies jointly, which is the same as direct, so it turns into multiplication, and z is the part that starts the equation. So let's translate the next one. Z varies jointly with x and y and inversely with w. Z varies jointly with x and y inversely with w. Okay, z equals k times x and y divide by w. Let's try the next one. Z varies directly with x and inversely with the product of x and y. So inversely with the product of w and y. Z varies directly with x and inversely with the product of x and y. So we're translating sentences. Let's do the last one. Z varies jointly with x and the square of y. Notice the power square of y. Okay, let's do some examples with the new vocab we've learned. The variables x and y vary directly. X and y vary directly. Y equals kx. Write an equation that relates the variables. Then find y when x is 10. In order to write an equation that relates the variables are x and y, not k, which means the first thing you need to do is find k. So the equation that relates the variables is y equals 3x. Notice that the only variables in that equation are x and y. Second, it says, find y when x is 10. You try number 2. Let's go ahead and do the next set. The variables x and y vary inversely. The specific location of x and y is not necessarily important because of the way the question is written. First, we need to write an equation. Second, find y when x is 3. Oops, I wrote 6 instead of x. When x is 3. $54 divided by 3 is 18. Okay, let's try the second one. Ooh, fraction. Okay, the variables vary inversely. 1 over 18 equals k over 72. So we're going to end up with 72 over 18, 4. There's your equation. Second, find y when x is 3. See if we can't do the next one. Okay, the variables z varies jointly with x and y. This time, z varies jointly with x and y. So the order does matter. Z varies jointly with x and y. Okay, write an equation. Z, 12 equals 1/2 times 8. Z equals, there's your equation that relates only those 3 letters. Second, find z when x is 2 and y is -3. Let's go ahead and do some of these bottom ones. Tell whether x and y show direct, inverse, or neither. So I'm going to try to rearrange this equation. I'm going to multiply both sides by 9. I notice that the variables are directly across. Y varies directly with x. Okay, so I'm going to try to put this in y equals format. I notice that the x is inverse because it's divided. Here, this line does not go through the origin, so this is neither. Ooh, table of values. Let's see if we can write this. Y equals 3 times x. Y equals 3 times x. Y equals 3 times... Oh, that is direct variation. Notice that the k value is exactly the same for each of them. Another way to check this would be, okay, y equals kx. Well, I don't have k, but I do have x and y. Check by dividing each of the pairs and numbers, and you get a k value of 3, and it checks for each pairing. So this would be direct. Let's look at the next table. Okay, so 3, 5, 5, 21. Well, those numbers look not as easily relatable as the first set. So I'm not going to check direct. I'm going to check inverse. Okay, well, I don't have k, but I do have x and y. So I'm going to try multiplying these quantities together. 3 times 5 is 15. Okay. 5 times 21 is times 21, 105. Okay, so not inverse variation. Okay, so not inverse. Well, I might as well try direct before I say that it is neither. So I'm going to rewrite this, and I'm going to check dividing these two numbers. So 3 divided by 5. 3 divided by, backwards. 5 divided by 3, 1.6. Let's try 21 divided by 5, 4.2. 3.6, 45 divided by 7. And so neither the product or the quotient of these numbers is consistent, which means that it would be neither. In order to be direct or inverse variation, the k value has to remain the same for each pair of numbers. Okay, let's do some word problems. Okay. The distance traveled. at a constant speed. So distance at a constant speed varies directly as time travels. So I'm going to pick some letters here. D equals K. Directly time. Okay, there's my equation. First, let's find the constant of variation. That would be my K value. Denny traveled 312 miles in 6 hours. Divide by 6. Okay, second, write the equation that relates the variables. Last, how far will he travel, okay, in 4.5 hours? Boyle's law states that for a constant temperature, the pressure of a gas, okay, varies inversely with its volume. Okay, equation. Let's pick some letters that mean something. Pressure varies inversely with the volume. Okay, so first find the constant. P equals K over V. Sample of hydrogen has a volume of 8.56 liters and a pressure of 1.5 atmospheres. Find K. 1.5, 8.56. So this would be a calculator question. Let's go ahead and type that in. 1.5 times 8.56. 12 points. So K equals 12.34. Write the equation that relates only P and V. Third, find the volume of the hydrogen gas if the temperature is constant, okay, and the pressure is 1.2. 1.2. So I'm going to multiply by volume, then I'm going to divide by 1.2. 12.34 divided by 1.2. 10.28. All right, let's do our last two questions. The temperature varies jointly with the product of this and this. Okay. Temperature varies jointly, volume times pressure. Okay. Temperature 294. Volume 0.75. Okay. 294. Actually, let's do this. $294 divide by K equals 0.049. T equals 0.049 V times P. Write the temperature when volume is 7,000. T equals 0.049 0.49. 7,000 and pressure is 0.87 times 723 times 0.87. 298.41. Last question. Volume varies inversely with pressure of gas and directly with temperature. Okay? Volume is 20. Temperature is 230 or 320. Pressure is 1.5. So let's do 20 times 1.5. Okay, let's do 0.09375. Okay. Equation 0.09375. And I'll just put the T here and the P. Last step. Find the new pressure if it's volume of 10 heated to 400. Okay, so I'm going to multiply by P. Multiply those two numbers together. And then divide by 10. The new pressure is 3.75.